Yo! Well, welcome to Nutri Fitness Podcast. My name is Victor DeLoya, and it's my co-host,
Richard Cassidy.
So this is a podcast about spreading this taboo of awareness. It's called nutrition in America, and also how to include allergies that we as people deal with every day, and how much it affects us as people, as brothers, sisters, parents, every day to see our loved ones go with these things, right? And then my buddy Richard here, he's an expert of everything, right? I'm actually his water. He's drinking Fiji right now. He said it is better. I don't know. I think Polar Spring, whatever what it is. I even drink tap water. But parents bad for me. I gotta learn to do better, right?
Pretty much so.
I gotta learn to do better.
Get away from that fluoride.
So, this podcast that me and Richard are right now doing is about spreading awareness. Because we need to speak about this taboo thing that people don't want to talk about, right? And then he has some thoughts. I'm talking about some thoughts about fast food in America. He has a lot of depth when it comes to him and his family. So today, me and my buddy are going to be discussing this back and forth. And this is going to be a continuously show we're going to be doing every 2 weeks, every week, right? And we're trying to see exactly how much of people out there we can relate to. You know what I'm saying? And me, I was born in Zimbabwe, and he was born in the United States. And we're two different people, right? And I'm 35, and you are?
56 years young.
56. He looks 40. Actually looks younger than me. I'm like younger than him, but he looks younger than me, and he's healthier than me. And he runs like literally 5-6 miles. He loves to run. I don't like running. Why do you like running, man? What's about running about you that you like about?
Running to me, as you know, when I run, I say what I'm grateful for. Running to me allows me to rejuvenate. It allows me to think. It allows me to get closer to God. And it's part of who I am. When I run, it's like plugging myself in, recharging, organizing my day, organizing my thoughts. And it allows me to put things in perspective. You know, Nutritive Fitness was an idea that I had years ago. And I'm going to be transparent and straightforward. You know, being an alcoholic for many, many years, I lived a healthy lifestyle because I have all kinds of food allergies. And I've always been active. And I'm grateful because of the processes that I've been through that I am where I am today. And the reason being is because of how I actually took care of my body. Making sure I stayed active. And because of my food allergies, I had to be very, 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 very careful of what I ate. So it forced me to eat healthy.
What are those allergies that have forced you to, you know what, I need to take care of my body. I need to be self-aware of my surroundings or what's that kind of stuff?
Well, number one is peanut. I was diagnosed in 1973 with a peanut allergy. And it wasn't easy because back then there were no allergies. My dad actually put my doctor against the wall to try to figure out what was going on. And once they figured out that it was peanut, back then, well, he's got an allergy, so let's desensitize him. So they'd give me a spoonful of peanut butter once a month. And each time that they gave it to me, my reaction would get worse. So I'd go anaphylactic, but the level of anaphylaxis got more in depth.
So Dasha did an experiment on you?
Pretty much. Wow. So after 6 months, they finally realized, because I was in intensive care, that was it. I was no longer to be able to touch it or whatnot. So over the years, as I got older, and I would, like even, I remember one time I went to a wedding, and I had Swedish meatballs, and they used a peanut sauce, which I didn't know. So of course I was taken out by ambulance. So over the years, each time I've gone anaphylactic, it's gotten worse, but it's also created more food allergies. So now, so I'm dairy, gluten, so I mean, I have so many of them, but for me, peanut is now airborne. So I have to carry 5 EpiPens everywhere I go. I take all kinds of allergy medicines. I was born with asthma. So, and then I was able to outgrow that, but then over the years, my asthma came back. And yeah, I run. I refuse to give in. I run, and matter of fact, I ran 2.5 miles in 20 minutes the other day. So at the age of 56 and doing a 7-minute, 32-second mile to me is, it's awesome.
So do you need your inhaler when you run, or just like sometimes you don't need it?
I take it with me. So sometimes I don't need it, and depending on the pollen count, sometimes like when I ran the other day I didn't have to use it, but a few days ago I had to. So it's, if the pollen counts are high, but I just inhale it and I keep on running. I don't stop the run. I keep it going.
Okay. So NutriFitness wasn't my name, it wasn't my choice, it was your choice. Okay. Do you believe that the reason why you created this name, this brand of NutriFitness, right, is it because of your background, or is it because of your family? And what exactly was the purpose of doing this? And why do you want to put it as a business to other people?
I think for me, realistically, Nutritive Fitness, way back when, is just about overall health and well-being. Because realistically, I look at it this way. We can damage ourselves through stress. We can damage ourselves through mindfulness by having information, bad information, whether it's how we've grown up, whether it's child abuse and arguments and whatnot. But then we have all these fast foods and all this stuff that we constantly get that cause damage to us. And most people have no clue because we're not educated that way. We're not educated that we have to really, really, really be careful about what we're choosing for what we put in our bodies. And, so for me being a nutritionist and a functional nutritionist, and for myself being a personal trainer and the other things that I'm doing, I've learned that 95% of all of what happens to us all comes from inside the gut. I didn't know this several years ago, but I was starting to research and delve into it. And then, in 2006, because my youngest son was born in 2004, so in 2006, when he started getting sick and we had no clue, and it took a couple of years. So my son has a disorder called an immune deficiency called eosinophilic esophagitis, EOE for short. And basically what it is that those of us that have allergies or even have asthma, we have what's called eosinophils. Mm-hmm. Consider them like little antennas that pick up when our body's being attacked by allergens or histamines or anything else. Someone with EOE, they get this huge amount at the same time. So what it does, it basically makes the white blood cells look like they're the enemy of the body. So EOE attacks its own digestive system. So my son had that, but because it was back then, it was still brand new. No one was diagnosing it. They didn't know what to call it. And he would get very sickly. I mean, we could be out doing whatnot, and he would just turn like this grayish color, and he would just start vomiting. And it was like he wasn't even digesting his food. So we kept going back and forth to the hospitals. He'd be taken by an ambulance or whatnot, and we just didn't know. And when his primary happened to be on vacation, there was a secondary doctor that was taken over, and she called us up and said, she goes, I've been doing some research, and she mentioned that this is something new, and it's called eosinophilic esophagitis. And she goes, I think you may have these symptoms. When all said and done, she booked us an appointment at the Children's Boston Hospital.
And who was this again?
What's that?
Who was this person?
Her name is Dr. Chu.
Dr. Chu? Okay.
Yep. So back then, she was part of the East Boston health system, and then she switched up to a hospital up in New Hampshire.
Okay.
But she's the one that mentioned us, so she booked an apartment. Matter of fact, we happened to be at Canterbury Lake Park, which is in Salem, New Hampshire. And she called me up and she goes, we're having him admitted. So we did. We went in for testing and stuff. We were there for the whole entire week. But back then it was brand new. So they put him all these kinds of medicines. They said that we have to put him on an elemental diet, which basically means taking all food sources away. And they put him on a amino acid-based protein called Ellicare, and then we were doing this stuff called EO28 splash, which they put in boxes, but it's also used for people that be on feeding tubes. So here you have a child at the age of 4 that's no longer allowed to have food. And we did this for months upon months, and it was just god-awful. But because of the medicines that they kept putting him on, they were all experimental. He was having night terrors, and this went on for a couple of years. And I remember one night he woke up in the middle of the night screaming, and Isabel and I go running out into the bedroom, and he's like this, and he looks at the two of us, and he said, I just want to die. And at that point, I realized that something had to change. Now, I knew I've always had allergies, but to see what he was going through at the age that he was, and such a baby, and to explain what his esophagus looked like, it looked like a piece of hamburger, where it's supposed to be like shiny, like a piece of glass. Mm-hmm. It had divots and it had swelling and whatnot. So it was kind of like he was in pain every single day of his life for many years. Gratefully, my son, he's athletic, he's into MMA and everything else, but what we went through for such a long time in the experiments of drugs, and I'll say it, all these medications that cause other side effects for him. And I said, there's got to be a different way. There has to be a different way. And I used to cry myself at sleep at night knowing how much pain that he was in. And the thing was, as we started introducing foods back, and eventually it took us 8 years to finally find out what was going on with him and what the reality was. And his gastroenterologist, who is amazing, Dr. Garrett Zeller. We had left Children's Hospital because we didn't like what they were doing, so we switched over to Mass General, and then we followed him to test floating, and now he's with the Boston University out in Worcester. And he put a whole entire team together, nutritionists, allergists, and everything else, to get to the bottom of this. And I was learning and researching and understanding about what eosinophils do, which correlates to all of my allergies, because those of us with severe allergies, our eosinophils are usually higher than the average individual. And I kept saying, you know what, there's more than just food, there's more than this allergist. And believe it or not, we actually had it was a holistic specialist that looked at fundamentals of the internals. And it took 8 years total for them to finally figure out how to control it. Thing is during that whole process, I kept digging. I kept digging and digging and digging. And it was like looking in the mirror, because those of us that have allergies or asthma or whatnot, we have heightened eosinophils. Someone like Daniel, it's through the roof.
Do you think that during the time that this was going with your son Daniel, do you think that your allergies are being part of the contribute to this, or do you have the fear that, okay, my own allergies that gave my son this worst disease, did this ever went to your mind at all?
Oh yeah, I've always said, in a fun way, don't ever say I never gave you anything. No, I only because
he's thankful now. I'm not saying so thank you, Dad, for that.
But the thing is that like my mother has asthma. So, of course, I got that. And, of course, I got all the allergies. And my oldest son never had allergies. Now Justin is just beginning to start getting them. And where he used to tell me to tough it up, now all of a sudden he's got the sniffles. Now the shoe's on the other foot.
I remember you told me that in the past. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But the thing is that now, back in the day when I was younger, I used to climb crabapple trees, have crabapple fights, play outside all the time. Now things are different. Everything's all about hand sanitizers. No one's going outside the way that we used to. And I believe allergies now are just becoming so widespread in so many different ways. And it bothers me because I know that, a lot of the foods that we're eating, the additives, everything else that's in it. But I didn't think about any of this stuff until I realized about what was going on with Daniel. It really bothered me. And it bothered me with all the medications and everything else. And when Dr. Zeller got involved, a lot of that stuff started going away. Stopped trying to do all the medications. We did the introduction to foods back. We tried to create gradually, or shall I say he did. Thing was, because Daniel was also allergic to cats. And we'd go into a place, and if there was a cat, he'd have a reaction, and all of a sudden his EO-eat would kick in too. So I used to say, is it environmental? Of course, I'd get told no. Now, there's a huge question mark.
Oh, man.
Yes.
You couldn't be around cats?
No.
This cute little thing you were saying, oh, meow, meow.
No, thank you. Nope.
Yeah, anyway, so you couldn't be a neighbor at all? Like nothing at all?
No.
How about now? They used to have that.
He can now. I can't.
You can't?
No, not cats. I get dogs. I can get around, but cats, no.
That's quite interesting, though.
Yeah.
Huh. So, when you guys growing up, right, and then you guys raising your son, Daniel, and when there was type of a cat or any kind of animal around, at the beginning stage, were you guys aware about it, or just something you figured out as he was reacting to it?
For Daniel, no, we didn't. We never were around cats because I couldn't be around it.
Okay.
Same thing as like there was no peanut butter in the house ever.
Okay.
But as he got older and started going to friends' houses and whatnot, that's when we started realizing that he would have issues.
Oh.
Matter of fact, with myself, as my allergies have gotten worse over the years, we went to the York Animal Kingdom in York, Maine. We were there probably about an hour. And from all the camels and everything else around there, and it was like 90-something degrees, my face started to swell up, my eyes started to swell up. And Daniel went on one of the elephants, and he was fine. And then he did the camel, and his eyes started to swell up. And I kept saying to myself, this poor kid, because of me, and I did. I went through that poor. I was like, God, because of me, look at what he's going through, And so we ended up heading on out, and it was ironic because the boys wanted to do the go-karts, and the guy that was running the go-karts felt bad for us, so he gave us a 45-minute free pass. So then, of course, we went out to the beach afterwards, and after a couple of hours, the salt there kind of helped my allergies dissipate. But what's crazy is, and again, this show, Nutritive Fitness, and my company, of why I've done this is because nutritive fitness isn't just about nutrition. It's about our well-being. And when we have allergies and when we, have difficult periods in our lives, it affects us in so many different ways.
It does. Especially when you have friends and family.
Yeah.
And it gets to you.
It does. I mean, there's everything from anxiety that kicks in, there's depression that kicks in, and then when that happens, what do? I turn to alcohol. I was an alcoholic for 35 years. People turn to sugars, people turn to caffeine, people turn to cigarettes, people turn to marijuana, depending on where they're at, whether they're anxious or depressed or they're angry. we don't deal with mindfulness.
I just shut down. I just shut down.
You shut down?
Yeah. I just cut everyone off. Like, don't call me. Don't talk to me.
No, a lot of people do that. It's called isolation.
Yeah.
And for some it works. For some it basically creates a deeper hole. For me, I turned into alcohol, and I turned into a lot of it.
You did.
As much as, and I did. I mean, because of all my allergies, I had to eat a healthy lifestyle. I couldn't have fried foods. I couldn't do dairy. So I did a lot of the things that I talked negatively about. My allergies became my gift. It wasn't a curse. And even when I drank a gluten-free.
Okay. Give me your drink.
So even when I was.
Just continue talking.
So even when I was drinking, I drank a gluten-free option. I drank vodka and I drank it straight. I didn't do soda. I didn't do anything, and I was still exercising. I was eating healthy. I drank it straight.
Man, are you insane? I think disgusting to taste.
Yeah. I mean, my last 7.5 years of drinking, I was drinking 1.5 gallons a day.
Wow.
Because it allowed me to not deal with reality. It allowed me to forget a lot of what my past was about. It allowed me to not feel my allergies many times. Because as the years went over, my allergies kept getting worse. And I always knew that there was a way of, in here, that there had to be a different way of how we treat our bodies. And I started getting into different things having to do with health and nutrition, but because of my addiction, I kept sabotaging the direction that I was going in. And where things really started coming into play for nutritive fitness was when I got sober back in 2019. And now, with my schooling and education, my certifications and everything else, and looking at what my son to this day still has, and that he's always going to have. They do have processes or injections or whatnot that can help control it, but unfortunately, like myself, he can't have certain things because he has reactions to, like the allergy shots I can't get. I have reactions to the allergy shots. So Daniel can't do the particular injection that he needs because he has this huge reaction to it. So yeah, so I blame, it's not a blame, it's just part of genetics, but his allergies, his eosinophil comes from myself. But also too, he doesn't have the healthiest nutrition plan. He likes his snacks and his fast foods.
Yeah, how old is he?
He's 19.
Of course.
He's a kid.
He's a kid.
But at the same time is when he says, I'm not feeling good today. Well, what did you eat? Same thing as if you're not feeling good and you've got that Dunkin' Donuts coffee filled with a mocha latte in it.
Hey,
I can't help it. But
don't discriminate my coffee, man. I love my coffee. I like my favorite coffee.
It's a diuretic, you know that, right?
What you call me today?
It's a diuretic.
No, what did you say this morning? You said about mochas for what again?
Oh, mocha latte?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll stay away from that one.
Say something about my hips. And my hips
his hips don't lie.
Yeah, they don't lie. So, listen up. Right now, we are recording at Bocado's.
Here in Leominster.
Yeah, in Leominster, Massachusetts. It's a restaurant. It's very, very great food. Good atmosphere. And Richie is actually a staff here. So this video is not sponsored by them. This is us talking as our own opinion about this restaurant. So as we continue listening or what to do, I want you guys to be just trying to take notes, right? And just listen, right? Because his experience is not my experience. My experience is not his experience, right? And Nutrient Fitness is about exactly what you hear, about educating the mind about things we don't know yet, right? And you're gonna hear more in depth when things goes on about him. He starts about things with grease food, like grease food, as much everything in the United States is all about consumptions of grease of food, right? Like fast food, everything else. You're gonna hear a lot of things about it, right? As we continue, you're gonna learn. As you learn more about Richard, you're gonna relate to it. Because you're gonna know that you have a child, you have a mother, you have a dad, you have somebody that in your life that has faced some similar thing to him. That's why he went to Sons, right, with the EOE. As you gotta learn more about it, right? So each week we're gonna try not to be a teacher, but to be human beings, right? About just bring out something else.
Realistically, we are, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about life. We're going to be talking about well-being because we forget about ourselves. It's so easy in this crazy world that we live in, we forget about ourselves. We think about our investments, having our 401k plan, buying a house, this, that, and the other thing, but the true investment is in us. And it's fitness-wise, it's mindfulness-wise, and it's most definitely nutrition. And the thing is that we have to make sure that the pieces are together and we take care of ourselves now, because if we don't, it doesn't matter what happens later on. We can either live a great, healthy lifestyle or we can be sick. And that's a choice. And my whole thing is, and what we want to do is just kind of open up doors, open up windows for people to kind of see things differently. And I'm all about accountability. At the end of the day, we're just accountable for our own health and well-being. Nothing else, no one else, not our next door neighbor, not a TV show, not anything on Facebook. We're basically accountable for ourselves. And I'm hoping that, this show, this podcast does that. It just opens up makes you think differently about yourself, makes you think differently just about life in general.
Yeah, and hopefully that you as an individual learn something from it. Remember this, as I said, he said it, is real people talking about ourselves. Accountability, you have said about that. Right? Understanding our self-awareness, right? Peanut allergy is a very, very common allergy, not just in the United States, but around the world. Right? Souls, trees, things, even water, peanuts, some type of almond, right? We all have effect in different ways. And me as an individual, I was lucky not to be born with allergies, but I
Must be nice.
Yes, it is actually.
Must be nice, no allergies. Wow.
I do have family, especially cousins, nieces and nephews, who has been born in the United States and have allergies. And me, I was taught that allergies only exist in the United States, and then my cousin met somebody, and then I know them. They're born in a foreign land and they have allergies in Zimbabwe or something else. You know what I'm saying, and I didn't know that. And so me and then until I met Richard about 4 years ago. Wow, it's been 4 years already.
Yeah,
that's insane. I have learned a lot about my own way of eating and how to not include that at my daily basis, right? I remember when I was a kid, growing up in high school, first thing I was doing, I hated the lunch food, I hated the high school food, I hated the food. You know what I used to do? Either go to Subways or go Chinese food. There's a local Chinese food in Lower Massachusetts that for $5 you get like everything, like the plate was this massive. It was a lot, right?
It's called toxic waste.
Yeah, and then yes, it is. But
and it's Americanized Chinese food.
See, his kid is doing the same thing. He's ignoring me. And there was a place in Lower Massachusetts called forgot the name of the place now. Basically, it was in a trailer, a restaurant, and this have this sandwich, sausage, egg, and ham, but it's so greasy, but so good and so delicious. Here you cannot eat it. So, so I want you guys to know exactly. This is not educational. This us talking about be accountable.
Yes. Accountability is it's key. You know, we have a choice. We always have a choice. And that's the most important thing. The choices that we make affect right now. We don't feel good right now, we have right now to make that difference.
Yeah.
You know, whatever happened yesterday, it's gone. We can't control tomorrow, but we have this moment. You know, and I will, you know, as the show goes on, you know, maybe I'm going to even bring products on. I'm going to pick products apart because I want to help create an awareness of what we're putting in our bodies. Because what we put into our bodies makes a difference both physically and mentally. It really does.
Yes.
And that's part of it, you know, and it's not just about food. It's about our environments and, you know, the people that we surround ourselves by. You know, it's all part of our health and well-being. And I'm excited, you know, I'm looking forward to doing this, and I hope that you as viewers and listeners can grasp on and have an appreciation and start kind of, you know, looking at yourself a little bit differently and saying, you know what, it's time for me to take control. Not the system, you know, not the way, you know, we're told that we have to be. It's according to ourselves. You know, we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're not 100% of who we want to be and how we know we need to feel, then we've got work to do on ourselves, according to ourselves, and no one else.
And honestly, guys, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel and put notification button on. Okay? Because, as I said, each week is going to be more on topic. Okay, today you'll learn about, what's called Infomation. Yeah, that's the name of it. I think I kind of pushed the name a little bit. That's what it is. But you'll learn more about it, all right, as the thing goes on. Subscribe and also follow us on NF Now Podcast. Yeah, I just came up with that. NF Now Podcast.
I like that. NF Now.
Yeah, NF Now Podcast. Follow us today here on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. We're going to be doing a lot of things. We're going to try to post as much things out there. Hopefully that you guys, you as individual, hope you tune in to us each week and learn more about exactly what you're doing now and what's next. But next show, I'm going to guarantee you the next show is going to be mostly focused on you.
Why? Because we're grateful for all of you.
Yes, we are. It's going to be focused on you, exactly attacking you. But I don't want you to reject us. I want you to make a comment. All right? We welcome all comments here. We want to hear all the grievances. We want to hear the good comments. We want to hear the bad comments. If you hate us, tell us you hate us. Okay? We want to hear about it. But one thing is, like, I always say that haters going to hate. And it's going to make us more engaging to you.
That's right.
I'm saying. And he said it before. He runs with grace with his faith. That's where he is. Me and him were both Christ followers. We actually met at the local church here in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, once upon a time. Right. And we met through a mutual friend. And from that, we actually grow even closer over time.
That's right.
He got to know my family, I got to know his family. Now is a friendship become a brotherhood between me and Richard. Even there's a big gap of age, but age is a number. Me and we're friends. We talk daily. He vents to me pretty much all the time. Like, all the time. So, and I have to say, oh my gosh, Richard Cassidy, what he wants. I put him on speakers. I know it's going to talk for a long time. But if I put my ear, my arm's going to get tired. So I put him on speaker and I hear everything. And I said, okay, cool. Breathe, relax, It's gonna be fine. So, and then me and him, the reason we get along is because he's stressed out by everything. And me, I don't stress at all. Because why? I want peace. I like peace always. You love stress always. Why? I do not know.
There's no stress, but I love unconditionally, and I care about others compassionately. And to me, I do what I do because I want to make a difference. It's important. It's vitally important to help others start seeing themselves differently. And I can't help it. It's who I am. So it's not a sense of stress. It's just I hold myself accountable.
It's stress.
Because if I'm going to say something, it has to be able to be something that makes a difference, something that's tangible. And by the way, if you don't like us, that's okay. If you love us, that's okay too. And if you want to challenge me on a particular topic, please do. Because if I don't know it, I will research it. I will make sure that if I have something to say and my name's behind it, it's straight on. Because I'm hoping that we're hoping that this show makes an impact. It makes you think differently about what you're doing to yourselves. Because it's important.
It is.
We got to take care of us.
It is.
You know, and like I said, I'm grateful for all of you, and I do. When I run for gratefulness. You know, gratitude is a huge part of life. And we are actually going to be talking. We will do one particular about just gratitude. But, you know, I'm grateful for all of you. He's grateful for all of you. And we will see you next time on NF Now Podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We love you. I don't, but he does. Peace.
I love you all.